Yesterday we talked about shutter speed in the context of using a fast enough shutter speed or using it really fast to stop the action. Today we're going to do exactly the opposite. I'm going to talk about slowing the shutter speed down and actually intentionally creating blur in certain parts of your picture. This is one of my favorite techniques. I use it all the time, and I think you're going to find it really cool and that it adds a lot to your photography. So what are we doing here? What we're going to do is take our shutter speed, and now you're going to use shutter speeds that are larger fractions, something like quarter second, half second, all the way into several seconds. You may go 1 second, 5 seconds, 30 seconds, even longer. Now, I just got done talking about how that's going to lead to blurry pictures. So how do you deal with that? And the answer is stabilization. And for the most part, that means a tripod like we have here. In fact, that's pretty much why we have these, is that if your camera is sitting on a tripod, fully stable, there's no reason why you can't have the shutter open a really long time and have everything be just as sharp as if you were hand holding at a really fast shutter speed. We'll talk more about that later, but I wanted to at least let you know how that works, because once you do this, it opens up a whole new world. Now we can use a shutter speed as long as we want. That does two things. It lets in a lot of light for us, because now if you're dealing with a low light situation, you can use a small aperture, you can use a low ISO, and you can use a shutter speed as long as you need to get as much light into the camera to make a proper exposure. And then also you get the cool effects with the blur that I'll talk about. Before we get into that, two things you need to know. One is that you're going to be dealing with whole seconds a lot of times on the shutter speeds. And so rather than a fraction, you'll see a whole number there. And a lot of times those whole numbers will get pretty large, and in many cameras, once you get to 30 seconds, manual mode is topped out. In that case, you'll need to go into what's called bulb mode. And what happens there is that the shutter is open as long as you hold the shutter down. Okay, so you hold it down, it'll stay open until you take your finger off. Now, you don't want to be touching the camera during the exposure because you could lead to some shake. So what you'll do there is they have these things called remote shutter releases, and you just press the button and it takes the picture. Or you can get wireless ones, and we'll talk more about that later too, but I did want to point that out now that that's something you may deal with, which is bulb mode and then these remotes. Other times, you might be dealing with a situation where there's actually too much light in order for you to use these really super slow shutter speeds. In other words, that it's going to overexpose your picture even if you put your ISO all the way down, which is usually 100. And if you close your aperture to its smallest setting, usually f22, then you still can't use as slow a shutter speed because there's too much light coming in. So what do you do there? Well, they have these things called neutral density filters. Let me show you one. It's basically just a filter that it's sort of, people always say it acts as sunglasses for your camera. And what that means is that it keeps everything the same, except it restricts the amount of light that comes into your camera. How much light does it restrict? That depends on which one you get. They're measured in stops. They have 3 stops. This is actually a 6-stop filter, and 10-stop filters are really powerful ones. And basically, I would probably start with a 10-stop and then work down from there. And 6 stops are really good as well. But the point for now is just to tell you that that's a good way to restrict the amount of light, because then what happens is it allows you to use these really slow shutter speeds without letting too much light into your camera and overexposing the image. When you do that too, and I touched on this with this remote, but you're going to need to be very careful that you don't touch or shake the camera when you're doing this. And we'll talk more about this later, but I wanted to point it out now that the key to sharpness here is that this is fully stable, there's no vibrations, and there's nothing touching the camera. Okay, that's going to be really important. Now, once you do that and you're ready to take the picture, let's talk about how this works. First, let me give you a good example here. Let me show you kind of the effect that we're talking about. And let's do it in the context of moving water. Here's a graphic on your screen now, And what it is water shot at different shutter speeds. First I have it at 1/80th of a second. You can see how it's all jagged there. And then I slow it down to 1/10th of a second, and you see it really starts to smooth out. So that gives you a good visual example of kind of what we're talking about here. By the time you get to 0.4 seconds, you're really smooth. And then the final example is 3.2 seconds. And so there's just a good sort of side-by-side comparison showing you some of the effects that we're going to talk about. We'll talk more about moving water in a second. First, let's talk about it in some other contexts, because I really want to show you how you might put this in action in a lot of different contexts in your photography. First is your standard sort of outdoor scene. You can make the clouds move, and let's take a look at this picture of downtown Chicago that I took, and this is using a 25-second exposure. During that time, the clouds were moving, and so therefore they appear to have this movement going on in the picture you see here. It was nighttime, so there's a lot less light at night. So you can get away with this slow shutter speed without using any kind of neutral density filter or anything like that. Here, in fact, I actually had the ISO up at 200 and the aperture at f11, so a little bit small, but sort of in the middle. And then it allowed me to use a 25-second exposure, during which time the clouds moved through the sky. So that's a really cool technique to do a lot of times when you're outdoors taking shots and things like that. Here's another example, and this is a light trails shot. This is a 20-second exposure, during which time the traffic moved through the frame and only the lights showed up. And so therefore, all you see is these white and red streaks running through the picture. This was actually, both of these pictures were taken in my night photography class. So if you took that, then you've already seen these before. But just so you know what's going on here, the slow shutter speed of 20 seconds was achieved by, again, it's night, so I got to use a low ISO and a small aperture of f16, and that got me to a 20-second exposure and allowed me to get these lights going through. You may have to sort of play with it a little bit on your own to get the settings exactly right, but that's what worked here. Anyway, that's another context in which you can use these slow shutter speeds. Now let's talk about one that's not quite so slow, and it's panning. What you'll do in a panning situation is you'll take the camera, and let me use a different one here, and you'll have a moving subject, whether it's a person or a car or whatever, and you will follow the subject and take the picture while following the subject. What will happen if you do it right is you'll be moving at the same speed as the subject, so that will be sharp, and the background will be blurred because that will, of course, been moving as you took the picture. Typical speeds for this are somewhere between 1/20th of a second and about 1/4 second. So you don't want whole seconds here or anything like that. Let me show you a few examples I took. And these are cabs in different cities that were sort of icons of their cities, so I thought they were interesting. The first is in New York cab coming along that I got at 1/10th of a second. And then there's a London cab on the right for 1/15th of a second. And you can see that the cabs themselves are somewhat sharp, but the background is really blurred, and it's kind of a cool effect. One more thing you can do with these slow shutter speeds that's really cool is capture reflections. When you have water in front of you, the water will move a lot during the exposure if you're using a long shutter speed, and so therefore it'll sort of even out or smooth out. We'll talk more about moving water in just a second, but keep in mind too that whether it be a puddle, whether it be a lake, whether it be a river, it doesn't matter, that it'll create a reflection that's really smoothed out from the long shutter speed. And here in this picture of Miami, it's a marina, and using a 5-second shutter speed smoothed out the water a bit, and so I was able to get a nice reflection there. It'll depend on how choppy the water is, how slow you need to go here. It's pretty smooth water. It was in a harbor, so 5 seconds was plenty. You may have to go further though. Now let's talk about perhaps my favorite way to use a slow shutter speed, and that's with moving water. Okay? First, here's a chart to show you some different effects that you can get, and I'll show you pictures that go along with each of these in a second. But if you use something like a 1/4 second to a 1/2 second, you're going to get a slight blur on the water, And that's really good just to show a hint of movement in the waves, and it really shows power very well. If you use something like 2 to 8 seconds, then you're going to get a mild blur, and it's going to show a nice sense of movement in the water. Longer than that, up to about 20 seconds, is a moderate blur, and what that does is it will show trails running through the water. It's great for creeks, even everything as big as oceans there. It'll show trails that are really cool. After that, you're getting into situations where you're totally blurring out the water. Let me show you some examples now. Here is a picture of, and of course my examples aren't going to match up entirely to the chart. I discovered that I liked these examples and they don't match my chart, so I decided to use them anyway. And that's just a good example too, that sometimes you're going to deal with situations in the field that aren't quite what you expect, and so don't take my charts as gospel, but simply as a starting point or default to start with, and then adjust from there. So here's a picture of a rushing wave, and here this is 1/5 of a second. It was used to create just a slight blur on the wave, and I think it kind of shows the power of it coming in, and it's a pretty cool effect. Let's look at what happens when we slow down now. This next one's at 0.8 of a second, and now we're dealing more with sort of a trails situation. So depending on the speed of the water, you can get trails pretty fast or slow. It's just going to depend. You're going to need to play with it a little bit. A third example, this one now we're all the way to 20 seconds. And you can see that the water is pretty blurred. You still have these white areas where the surf was crashing, but a 20-second exposure there really kind of blurred the water out pretty nicely and is a good effect if you're trying to calm the scene down. Finally, sometimes you're going to want the water to be just completely flat or glass. For that, at a minimum, you're going to need to use 30 seconds. That's what I used in this picture. That's a pretty calm scene here, but in more rough contexts or waters, then you're going to need to use shutter speeds, sometimes a minute, sometimes even longer. If you have much light or if it's very bright out, you're going to need to use a neutral density filter in order to slow that down. So these are some contexts in which you might get good moving water shots, and hopefully this gives you an idea of some of the ways that you can use slow shutter speeds to really cool effects in your picture. And that leads to today's assignment. What I want you to do is go out and use what we just talked about with respect to slow shutter speeds and find some moving water that you can shoot using these slow shutter speeds. Now, if you happen to live near a coast, great. But if not, just find a local creek or maybe a river or something like that and go ahead and set up and take shots that include this moving water running through it. Be sure you're using really slow shutter speeds that are going to create trails or maybe even a completely flat, glassy surface. There's nothing that's going to really hammer home shutter speed and exposure controls and f-stops and all that sort of thing like using these slow shutter speeds and having to work through it. In any event, go out and give this a try. These lead to some really great shots, so you might end up with actually a really great picture. In any event, have some fun and good luck.